What going on? It's your boy the Historian, coming to you with the first stream for Democracy 101. This is also going to be the first episode for me on DubRightSide's podcast, Political Discourse, hosted, like I said, by DubRightSide, my brother, as well as myself, the Historian. Salute to everybody in the building coming in, man. Smash the like button, subscribe, please support the channel. We're going to be breaking down some very important topics today. Salute to my bro Stavi in the chat, one of my great brothers. Crush the OG. Salute STN, Sports Talk Network. I left the link to all my brothers' channels in the description. Please look out. My boy, that's my brother right there. Chop Cheese Tommy in the chat, coming in with both accounts. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Salute to everybody coming in, man. Please smash the like button. Gonna give everybody a second to come in. Just give me one sec. Getting set up, fellas. Okay. But we're gonna get into some very important topics today. Firstly, we're gonna be looking at the big beautiful bill, as it's called by the Republicans on Trump. It just passed this past week in the House by a narrow 215 to 214 vote. It's now in the Senate. It's extremely controversial. It features huge cuts not only to Medicare but also SNAP, which is food assistance for children under the age of 11, as well as single mothers and elderly people who can't walk, and disabled people. There is also division because there's not a some people feel there's not enough cuts. Some people feel it adds too much to the debt. We're going to be seeing Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. He's going to be breaking down his opinion, or not even his opinion, but just what exactly he put into the bill, as well as taking scrutiny for it. Give me 1 second. Let me get that going. We're gonna react. Then I'm gonna bring you all up. I'm gonna bring my brothers up for when we talk about the pardons, because Trump also pardoned a lot of people this week. Famous Chicago gangster Larry Hoover, on top of many other controversial white collar criminals, including a corrupt sheriff. But let's get to Mike Johnson first. Let's hear what he had to say about his some people are calling it the big beautiful robbery as well, because they feel you're cutting taxes and then you're taking away programs for that are specifically meant for the poor. But give me 1 sec. Let me know if y'all can hear me in the chat too.
To get to in honor of our military. We have a lot to get to in honor of our military today, but we begin with the passage of what President Trump is calling his big, beautiful bill, and the man who got it through the House, Speaker Mike Johnson, who joins us from Benton, Louisiana.
That's Speaker of the House Mike Johnson right there. Before I play this video, I want to make clear we at Democracy 101 do not hold any rights over this video. We are simply watching this, or we are simply reacting to this for research and criticism purposes.
Good morning to you, Mr. Speaker.
Hey, good morning, and I wish a blessed Memorial Day weekend to everybody.
Indeed. Well, you got this massive tax and border bill through just barely, one vote margin. You pulled an all-nighter. Among other things, it will eliminate taxes on tips and overtime, put about $50 billion towards the border wall and hiring Border Patrol agents, keep in place existing individual tax rates, create savings accounts for kids with a one-time deposit of $1,000, increase the child tax credit by about $500. The bill on this is estimated to be between $4 and $5 trillion over the next decade. How much do you think this is all going to cost?
Well, that's about the right estimate, but at the same time, we have historic savings for the American people, cuts to government to make it more efficient and effective and work better for the people. That was a big campaign promise of President Trump and a big promise of ours, and we're going to achieve that. So in the calculation here, there's more than $1.5 trillion in savings, Margaret, for the people. And that's the largest amount, biggest cut in government really in at least 30 years. And if you adjust for inflation, probably the largest in the history of government. So we're proud of what we produced here. We've checked all the boxes. We're all the things that you mentioned in existence, in addition to American energy dominance, investing in our military industrial base, which is appropriate for us to talk about this weekend, and so many other priorities. And that's why we call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. I think arguably it's the most consequential legislation that Congress will pass in many generations, and it's a long time coming.
Well, just this morning, we did hear from some of your Republican colleagues over in the Senate, where this heads next, that they can't support the bill as it is written. I think you know this. Senator Rand Paul said the cuts are wimpy and anemic. The math doesn't add up. It will explode the debt. In addition to that political criticism, you've already seen Moody's credit rating agency downgrade American credit, and Goldman Sachs says that this bill will not offset the damage from the president's tariffs. Isn't this an economic gamble?
So, firstly, everything she said right there is facts. The report came out from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office that this will that they are going to raise the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. And he said something that, while it's true, there is going to be $1 trillion in savings, but you're also spending $4 trillion more dollars than you're bringing in. So all you're doing is just adding more debt. And then on top of what she said right there, well, as a result of this bill that's coming out of the House, there's been a fracture in the Republican Party, where you have one camp. There's the orange loyalists, such as the man on the screen, Mike Johnson. Pause the video on 30-second periods so they don't pull your lot. Yeah, okay. No doubt, D free. I'm gonna do that. But like I was saying, you got orange loyalists such as this man on the screen, Mike Johnson, and the majority of the Republicans who will follow Donald Trump off a cliff and will lie and lie and lie their asses off in his name. This man on the screen said for months there would be no cuts to Medicaid. There are over $1 trillion worth of cuts to Medicaid in this bill. So, and then, like I said, three camps have sprung up. You have the orange loyalists. Then you have the Reagan era conservatives who believe that, like she just said, the cuts are too wimpy. They're too anemic. They will never agree to add $4 trillion to the debt. So even if that means cutting SNAP, letting kids go hungry, cutting trillions of dollars in Medicare and Medicaid assistance, which will not only leave millions of people uninsured in this country, hospitals are going to close because a lot of their money comes from Medicaid. Now, while I disagree with that mindset, I can at least see the merits of, you want to cut spending and cut it away from the debt so that it helps inflation. But and then you have outside of that camp, you have the new era populist Republicans. This is the new age of Republicans that is slightly moving away from conservatism, and they're moving more towards populism. They want the working class, and they will not cut Medicaid. They will not cut SNAP. They will not, because they understand that at this point, at this point where our country already is in a standard of living crisis, we are not going to cut Medicaid for working class people. That's political suicide. But anyways, we're going to continue on with the video, and we're going to hear Mike Johnson's response to what she said.
No, it's not an economic gamble. It's a big investment. And look, what this bill is going to do is be jet fuel.
Oh, and on top of the fact, there's also Trump's tariff looming. On April 30th, we got our first quarterly GDP report, which is essentially like, it's the economy's progress report. We had a 0.3% reduction in the shrinking of the economy. And if we have one more of those in July, we will be in a recession. Okay? We are not China or Russia where you get to be president for 6 to 10 years or you just get to be president for the rest of your life. We have midterms. So this is absolutely an economic gamble. If the cost of if the prices of things rises on top of the fact that hospitals are closing down around the country, and it's all because of you and your bill and the economic policies of this president. Oh boy, they're gonna feel it in the midterms. So this is absolutely a gamble. But let's hear his response.
Economic gamble. It's a big investment. And look, what this bill is going to do is be jet fuel to the U.S. economy. It's going to foster a pro-growth economy. What do we mean by that? Because we're reducing taxes, we're reducing regulations, we're going to increase and incentivize American manufacturing again. And the effect this will have in the economy is that entrepreneurs and risk takers and job creators will have an easier time in doing that. They will allow for more jobs and more opportunity for more people, and wages will increase. Now, Margaret, this is not a theoretical exercise. We did this already in the first Trump administration. After just the first 2 years, we brought about the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S., because we followed a very simple formula. We cut taxes and we cut regulations.
You didn't do it in the middle of a tariff war.
On steroids.
And she makes the point right there. You didn't do it in the middle of a tariff war. There was sequencing to how they did it. They got once Trump had the Republican majority in the House and the Senate during his first term, and he got his CR bill passed. He got his tax bill. His tax cuts established. Then he went on to grinding the axe against China and Canada and Mexico and tearing up NAFTA.
The first administration, there was sequencing. You got tax reform. The Republicans got tax reform through and held off the tariff war. Goldman Sachs says the hit to growth from tariffs will more than offset the boost to growth from the fiscal package. That's Goldman Sachs.
Well, I know I respect Goldman Sachs, but I think what they're discounting here is the growth that will be spurred on by this legislation and the fact that the so-called tariff war is beginning to subside already. You've got over 75 countries that are negotiating new, more fair trade agreements for the U.S. right now because of the president's insistence that be done. And it was decades.
They have been saying this 75. They have been saying this whole, we've got 70 or 90 or 100 countries banging down the door, ringing the phone off the hook to negotiate. This is all just pandering. And then they say, we'll have news about it in 2 weeks. We'll have a deal done with one of these major countries in 2 weeks. It's bullshit. It is utter and total bullshit. These deals take years. These trade deals are huge, big piles of documents. Okay, they cover every aspect of our life. Okay, it's not gonna get done in 2 weeks just because Trump puts pressure on them.
Overdue. That is going to benefit every American. It's going to benefit the consumers. You know, they howled when the.
It's not going to benefit the consumers. It's going to raise prices. And the orange man has admitted it himself when he says things like, "Okay, I mean, yeah, a little girl might have to go with 2 dolls instead of 3, and okay, you might have to have 1 pencil instead of a whole pack. Okay." Unbelievable. But hey, let me give Mike Johnson a chance. Let me give you a chance.
First reciprocal tariffs policy was announced, and they said that prices would skyrocket. That simply hasn't happened. Many of those early estimates were far off, and that's being proven now. So what I think will happen is the tariffs, contest will subside. This legislation will pass and get the economy going again, and people will feel that. They'll see it in their own pocketbooks and their own opportunity. And every American household is going to benefit by these policies.
You know, Walmart has already said that it will have to raise prices. It's not theoretical. And the president on Friday was talking about even more tariffs, this time on Apple and others. But back to your end of the
and notice the language that they're using now. Before this tariff war, it was meant to be a war for America's dignity on the in the global markets. America is getting ripped off. Now he wants the tariff war to subside because he realizes it's effing terrible. This is going to put us in a recession, and it's really hard to defend a recession. You can only talk about Joe Biden for so long. And she made the point right there. Walmart says prices are going to rise. Amazon last month they talked about they're going to be putting basically a notice next to the price of each item that rises because of tariffs. So I don't know. The proof is in the pudding. But let's continue on.
Deal here for this tax relief. You talked about the cuts to pay for it all. You are eliminating subsidized federal student loans, so the government will no longer cover the interest on debt while borrowers in school. You're eliminating $500 billion in clean energy subsidies, and you're terminating early tax breaks for electric vehicles. Alongside that, you're carrying out about $1 trillion in reductions to Medicaid and food stamps.
So, and this is the Republican Party. This is the party that believes that if you can't afford to go to college, you should not, or excuse me, if you can't afford it, you should not be educated. Which I mean, to be honest, I mean, I think looking at it, I don't think college is really the best investment into yourself. I think there's other ways for you to be successful. But if you want to be educated, the government will no longer help you with that. What was the other cut that they just said right there? 500 billion in clean energy subsidies. So in recent years, there's a lot of wildfires on the West Coast, and also there's terrible air quality. I remember there was the big smoke or smog cloud that was hanging over Washington and Oregon, and people in Seattle, they were talking about they had to put air filters in their windows, and it happened in and that stuff leaks all the way down to California. So as a result of them cutting this, they're cutting the federal government's abilities to what's the word I'm looking for? But but the money they're cutting from that was going towards helping those people when it came to air quality, as well as California was trying to pass a bill to have all EV cars by I think 2030. So they made sure to kill that. But let's move on.
Beside that, you're carrying out about $1 trillion in reductions to Medicaid and food stamps. We looked at your home state, and the projection.
Yep, and I was gonna get to that, Bruce Gas. They fired all the inspector generals. Okay, they said they wanted to go after waste, fraud, and abuse to cut $2 trillion. They lied. They lied for months. They cut the inspector generals who are responsible for finding that waste, fraud, and abuse. Elon Musk went from saying $2 trillion in cuts to now 120 billion. They were always planning to cut Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP, but they just lied for months.
Is that nearly 200,000 Louisianans will lose their Medicaid coverage because of this. How do you defend that to your constituents?
We have not cut Medicaid and we have not cut SNAP. What we're doing, Margaret, is working on fraud, waste, and abuse. And everyone in Louisiana and around the country understands that that's a responsibility of Congress. Just in Medicaid, for example, you've got 1.4 million illegal aliens receiving those benefits. That is not what Medicaid is intended for. It's intended for vulnerable populations, for young, single, pregnant women and the elderly and the disabled and people who desperately need those resources. Right now, they're being drained by fraud, waste, and abuse. You got about 4.8 million people on Medicaid right now nationwide who are able-bodied workers, young men, for example, who are not working, who are taking advantage of the system. If you are able to work and you refuse to do so, you are defrauding the system. You're cheating the system. And no one in the country believes that that's right. So there's a moral.
So she just made a very good point that 200,000 people from his state that he represents, I'm not sure which, I don't have the specific district that he represents, but 200,000 people from his state. Louisiana is one of the highest, has one of the highest SNAP. Excuse me, they consume the highest number of SNAP and Medicaid benefits in the country, and he's going to cut it. This is political suicide. But what I said, there's a camp within the Republican Party that will follow Donald Trump off a cliff. This is going to screw people over. And his and what he did right there, that's the typical line from the Republican Party. If they can't blame Biden, they're gonna blame immigrants. Well, we've got illegal immigrants on on Medicare, so we have to cut it. You know, to make sure those immigrants don't get it, we're gonna make sure other hard working class people who are American citizens for sure don't get it. And that's what they're gonna do. They're going to, while they're screwing you, they're going to rationalize their screwing of you as we're hurting immigrants. They like to play on people's prejudice. But anyways,
we're doing, and when you make young men work, it's good for them. It's good for their dignity. It's good for their self.
it has to do with making young men work. Make sure those young men want to be insured while they're working. That's all. The way how they lie and spin stuff is so disgusting.
Worth, and it's good for the community that they live in.
Sure, but first of all, just undocumented immigrants, are not eligible for food stamps or Medicaid. Some lawfully present immigrants are. So the 190,000 Louisianas that are projected by KFF as losing their Medicaid, your position is they were just lazy, not working, that they were undocumented? What about them? How do you defend that they will be losing their benefits?
No, what we're talking about again is able-bodied workers, many of whom are refusing to work because they're gaming the system. And when we make them work, it'll be better for everybody, a win-win-win for all. By the way, the work requirements, Margaret, is not some onerous, burdensome thing. It's a minimum of 20 hours a week. You could either be working or be in a job program, a job training program, or volunteering in your community. This is not some onerous thing. This is common sense. And when the American people understand what we are doing here, they applaud it. This is a wildly popular thing, but because we have to preserve the programs, what we're doing is strengthening Medicaid and SNAP so that they can exist, so that they'll be there for the people that desperately need it the most, and it's not being taken advantage of. And this is something that everybody in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, should agree to.
Well, one of your Republican colleagues over in the Senate has been very vocal about his concern in regard to what you're doing to Medicaid. Josh Hawley has been arguing.
So, and then like I said, there is a third party with it. There's a third camp within the Republican Party, the New Age populist Republicans that they're pretty much they're pretty much against old age conservatism, because old age conservatism going all the way back to the 20s and the 30s of the Great Depression, they are intrinsically opposed to entitlements. Okay, they were opposed to Social Security when it was first proposed. They believe in letting every man hang for himself. Okay, and the New Age populist. She was just about to get into Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley is a staunch MAGA Republican. He is one of the most loyal followers of Donald Trump, and I actually have a lot of respect for him for standing up and opposing this bill, because it cuts Oh, I'm sorry. I just had the number here, but it cuts a large number of people from his own state of Missouri off of Medicaid. And right now, he's looking like he might be trying to make a move for the Republican ticket in 2028. But anyway, she's gonna get into what Josh Hawley had to say opposing this bill, and we're also gonna watch a video of Josh Hawley talking about why he opposes the bill.
It is morally wrong and politically suicidal to slash health insurance for the working poor. He said the cost sharing language will force people at or just over the federal poverty level to pay as much as $35 for a medical visit, which means working people will pay more. How do you defend that? Because in the Senate, they are going to make changes to this.
My friend Josh Hawley is a fiscal conservative, as I am. We don't want to slash benefits. And again, I make this very clear. We are not cutting Medicaid. We are not.
He just said he's cutting Medicaid. He just said he's cutting Medicaid. Like, they're lying directly to your face. They are lying directly to your face. My boy DeFrilio said it right here. These guys are crooks. They're all crooked. Okay? And he does it with a smile on his face. Okay? But right now, this bill is not going to pass through the Senate as it's currently written, with all these cuts it might have even more cuts, but it's not going to be as it is currently. Josh Hawley, Rand Paul, who is in the conservative camp. I think his name. I'm trying to think of the other gentleman's name. I think it might be Don Bacon from Wisconsin. Unless those three vote, this bill is not getting through. It just needs those three to kill it, really. And this guy is just lying out of his ass. He's just lying out of his ass, plainly.
Cutting SNAP. We're working in the elements of fraud, waste, and abuse. SNAP, for example, listen to the statistics. In 2024, over $11 billion in SNAP payments were erroneous. I mean, that's a number that everyone acknowledges is real. It may be much higher.
Louisiana is like the second largest recipient of
Oh, it looked like it froze. Give me 1 sec. It froze, but she was about to make the point. Louisiana is the second largest recipient of SNAP in the country. So your people need this. And something about me, I like to think of myself as a left-leaning centrist because I see both. I see there's merits to both conservatism and liberalism, but give me 1 second. But yeah, I think there's merits to both conservatism and liberalism, but I believe if you're going to take something from somebody, take it from the rich. Let's tax the rich. Let's give them higher tax rates. Okay? If you're going to take something from somebody, do not take it from the poor. Okay? If they're quote unquote scamming or scheming the system, it's because they're poor. They don't have more to give. So don't take what little they have. Like taking away SNAP is immoral. You're letting children starve. Like I don't think if we consider ourselves to be a serious or even a humane country, I don't see how we could rationalize that. Even if it means saving money. Like firstly, I don't think we should look at our country's spending like how we look at our household spending. Okay? I don't think that's realistic. But give me 1 sec. Let me get the video back up. Hold on. Let me know if y'all can hear it in the chat.
recipient of food stamps in the country.
Acknowledges is real. It may be much
Louisiana
higher.
Louisiana is like the second largest.
Of fraud, waste, and abuse. SNAP, for example, listen to the statistics. In 2024, over $11 billion in SNAP payments were erroneous. I mean, that's a number that everyone acknowledges is real. It may be much higher.
Louisiana is like the second largest recipient of food stamps in the country, sir. So
let me explain it, Margaret. Let me explain it. The states are not properly administering this because they don't have enough skin in the game. So what we've done in the bill is add just a modest state sharing component so that they'll pay attention to that, so that we can reduce fraud. Why? Again, so that it is preserved for the people that need it the most. This is common sense, Margaret. It's good government, and everybody on both sides of the aisle should agree to that.
Well, Senator Hawley objects to that cost sharing language. He is the one leveraging that criticism. This is going to change. You know that when it goes to the Senate. How do you put your Republicans up to have to defend these things when they are facing an election in 17 months?
We got almost every vote in the House because we worked on it for more than a year in finding the exact balance of reforms to the program so that we can save them and secure them. I think Senator Hawley will see that when he looks into the details of what we passed on Thursday. This is a big thing. It's this historic thing, once in a generation legislation. We call it the One Big Beautiful Bill because it's going to do so much, and the America First agenda will be delivered for the people just as we promised. And look, I had lunch with my Senate Republican colleagues on Tuesday, their weekly luncheon, and I encourage them to remember that we are one team. It's the Senate and the House Republicans together that will deliver this ball over the goal line, so to speak.
It's a big, beautiful robbery. They're telling you and your kids to go hungry. They're letting hospitals close. Meanwhile, Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. gets a big old tax cut. This is immoral. And then on top of the fact, they're not even holding true to their well, I'm not going to say there, because I think the Senate Republicans, I think the Senate Republicans, they're going to, or excuse, yes, the Senate Republicans, they're going to change this up. They're probably going to cut even more from the social entitlements, so that they can shrink the debt moving forward. But this guy, he does not even hold true to his ideal of conservatism. This is going to add to the debt, on top of the fact it's going to screw over working class people. This is a huge transfer of wealth from the small working poor to the rich. Let's finish out this shit so I can move on to Josh Hawley.
And I encouraged them to make as few modifications as possible, remembering that I have a very delicate balance on our a very diverse Republican caucus over in the House.
Yeah, well, you have 5 to 6 Republicans from high tax states who are not going to want to see that change in the state and local tax deductions, and there's not a commitment to that in the Senate. Can you still get this through the House without SALT?
Look, there's got to be a modification to SALT, and as I've explained to my Senate colleagues many times, they don't have a SALT caucus in the Senate because they're all from red states, but in the House, we do have a number of members who are elected in places like New York and California, New Jersey, and they.
Now that part he gets into the SALT caucus. I don't know too much about that, but we're gonna move on to Josh Hawley and his criticism of this. I have a lot of respect for this man. He is a huge MAGA loyalist. However, he is making a stand against his party. Give me one sec. Here it is.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley, who represents Missouri, a state where roughly 1 in 5 people are on Medicaid, he wrote a New York Times op-ed this week with a very simple message: don't cut Medicaid. Senator Hawley joins me live now from Capitol Hill. Senator Hawley, thank you so much for being with me this afternoon. So as we just showed you, you were warning your party not to cut Medicaid. The speaker, though, he just said this about the House GOP's so-called big, beautiful bill. Listen.
Don't cut Medicaid. We're not cutting Medicaid.
You hear that lying sack of shit? Let me rewind it one more time.
Don't cut Medicaid. We're not cutting Medicaid. Stop buying that.
So,
with a smile on his face,
he said, if you heard there, Senator Hawley said, we are not cutting Medicaid. Do you agree with the speaker? Is this bill not a cut to Medicaid?
Well, the right thing to do is not to cut Medicaid. So I'm glad to hear him say that. Manu, it ought to be just a basic foundational principle. It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor. And that's what we're talking about here with Medicaid. My state is a Medicaid expansion state. Over 20% of Missourians, including hundreds of thousands of children, are on Medicaid. And Manu, they're not on Medicaid because they want to be. They're on Medicaid because they cannot afford health insurance in the private market. These are working people and their children who need health care. And it's just wrong to go and cut their health care when they're trying to make ends meet, trying to help their kids, trying to make sure that they're able to provide for their families. So I hope that the House GOP and the Senate GOP will get the message here. By the way, President Trump has said the same thing: no Medicaid benefit cuts.
So, Senator Hawley, the expectation, though.
So Hawley is making a stand, and he is standing up for the people of his state. They just said it right there. 1 in 5 people in his state are on Medicaid and Medicare. Yeah, 1 in 5 people in this state are on Medicaid and Medicare. This is going to hit them like a hammer if they are not if they cut this. Okay? Not only that, like I keep saying, hospitals are gonna close. Those people, those hospitals in rural areas rely on Medicare and Medicaid money and those federal dollars.
Is in this House GOP plan, millions could lose health insurance coverage. We're waiting for the exact numbers when the Congressional Budget Office analyzes this impact, but that is the expectation. It also, some of the changes could put some rural hospitals at risk. It also puts in place some new copay requirements for Medicaid beneficiaries. Does that concern you?
Yes, both of those things concern me. Number one, I don't want to see any more rural hospitals in Missouri or anywhere else in America go out of business. We've lost too many of them in the state of Missouri, Mono. I don't like the idea of decreasing funding for rural hospitals. I'm worried that the House bill goes way too far in that regard. I also don't like what is basically a hidden tax on working poor people who are trying to get health care. I mean, this whole idea of we're going to charge them now additional copays in order to access health care, I have to say that just sounds like a tax to me. So now we're taxing poor people when they're trying to get access to health care. I've got big concerns about that.
So if this bill comes over from the House, the Senate, and
Okay, and Senator Hawley, something he realizes is this is political suicide. Okay, you cannot go into the midterms with rising costs as a result of tariffs. You cannot have recession as a result of tariffs, and you most certainly cannot have your name. The Republicans certainly cannot have their name stamped on a bill that cuts Medicare and Medicaid from working class people. Okay, he understands that this will murder the party in the midterms. So he is standing up. He is trying to be a leader in this situation. As much as I disagree with his support for the orange man.
you have to vote on it. Are you no if this bill does not change?
Yo, I'm not going to support this bill from the House in this form. I think that's clear. It's got to change before it can pass the Senate. And I continue to stand by my line in the sand, which is no Medicaid benefit cuts. Listen, if you want to do work requirements, I'm all for that. I bet every Republican and I bet most Americans would agree with that. But we're not talking here about just work requirements. The House goes much, much, much further than that. This is real Medicaid benefit cuts. I can't support that. No Republican should support that. We're the party of the working class, Mono. We need to act like it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, in your
They have never been the party of the working class. As long as I've been alive, the Republican Party has never been the party of the working class. They are the party of the rich and of corporate America. They're the party of cutting taxes for the rich and wealthy and letting the poor people hang on by themselves. Hey, you can figure it out. We figured it out. That's the type of party they are.
New York Times op-ed that we just showed, you wrote this about some of your GOP colleagues. You said, quote, "This wing of the party wants Republicans to build our big, beautiful bill around slashing health insurance for the working poor. Republicans need to open their eyes. Our voters support social insurance programs. More than that, our voters depend on these programs." You also point out that President Trump increased GOP support with the working class. So do you think your GOP colleagues in Congress are too focused on making life easier for corporate America and, frankly, wealthier Americans than the working class?
Well, I would just say it's a mistake to listen to outlets like the Wall Street Journal, for instance, that never met a corporate tax cut they didn't love, never met a corporate goodie that they didn't absolutely relish, but want to tax the working class like crazy. It's reverse class warfare is what it is. It's taxing the poor to give to the rich. And I'm totally opposed to that. Republicans now, thanks to Donald Trump, are the party of the working class, Mono. You referenced the returns from the last election. The big majority of working class voters voted for the GOP. That means now the GOP needs to deliver for them. And we do that by giving them tax relief. We do that by bringing down their health care bills. We don't do it by cutting Medicaid.
If this bill becomes law, are you concerned that Republicans could face a severe blowback in the elections next year?
No, this bill is not going to become law in its current form, not least because President Trump won't sign it. Mono, I've talked to him about this personally multiple times. He has been crystal clear in public, too. No Medicaid benefit.
Trump don't give a damn. Whatever they put on his desk, Trump is going to sign it. Okay? These people are, well, firstly, and also Trump doesn't give a damn because Trump is just about making money. We're going to get into it later in this video, but Trump is letting these people run amok. He's letting the MAGA Republicans that are now, that have taken over the White House, they're going to run amok. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid, and they want to give big old tax cuts for Elon Musk and their rich buddies. And meanwhile, the people on the bottom, like, well, I ain't going to say, well, actually, I am going to say me and you. Because this actually does affect me personally. My son, who he's born with pre-existing conditions, he's autistic, he is covered by MAP. And as a result of this, the school that took him in and that accepted his insurance, they made the decision that they're no longer going to be accepting MAP because they knew they understood that these cuts were coming and that there was going to be a shift in the political landscape. So please stay awake to these people. Okay? Do not ever believe a word that's coming out of their mouth. The Republican Party, except for people such as Josh Hawley, and maybe in years to come, they are all about themselves. They are all about the rich. They're all about the people that put money in their pockets. And for the large part of it, that's not tax-paying citizens such as me and you. All right. Moving on and moving forward. Give me one sec. Okay, my bad. Moving on. We are going to move on to Donald Trump's pardons. This week, Donald Trump went on a pardon spree, all over pardoning people all over the damn place. The one guy that a lot of y'all are really focusing on is Larry Hoover, but he also pardoned a lot of other white collar criminals. On top of the motherfuckers from January 6th that stormed the Capitol and tried to overthrow our democracy. But yeah, I mean, the motherfucker he throws in Jack Johnson and a couple of other niggas, and y'all just hey, bro, it's so easy to trick y'all. I'm sorry, man, and I love a lot of y'all to death. Y'all are my OGs, and some of y'all have a real connection to Larry Hoover. But this man will burn down the rest of the world, and all he has to do is shine a shiny toy in front of your face to distract you. But anyways.
First months of his second term, President Trump has moved to pardon many who are considered to be loyal to him, from local Republican officials convicted of fraud to rioters at the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
This evening, the president called the daughter of reality TV stars Todd and Julie Chrisley to tell her that he plans to pardon her parents. The pair are both serving years-long prison sentences for bank and tax fraud. Also today, the New York Times published new details about the pardon of a Florida businessman convicted of tax evasion. Our White House correspondent Laura Barone-Lopez has more.
A report from the New York Times found that the Trump administration pardoned Paul Walsack after his mother, Elizabeth Fago, attended a $1 million per plate fundraising dinner for the president's super PAC.
So quickly on that, Donald Trump just recently held a dinner at the White House, and I think she might be they're actually talking about a different dinner right here. But Donald Trump recently held a dinner at the White House, where he held a dinner for the top 20 investors into World Liberty Financial, which is the platform, the crypto platform that distributes his meme coin. Okay? And this lady right here in this video, but by the way, extremely illegal, extremely corrupt. This lady right here in this video, like the reporter just said, she was at $1 million per plate super PAC dinner, which essentially the money goes to the Donald Trump's political operations and the Republican Party.
2 weeks after the dinner, the president signed the pardon, getting Walsack out of an 18-month prison sentence and a $4 million restitution payment. To discuss this and more, I'm joined by Liz Oyer, former pardon attorney at the Department of Justice, who was fired from her post earlier this year. Liz, thank you so much for joining the NewsHour.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
So let's start with the recent revelations about the pardon Trump issued to Paul Walsack. Walsack is a former nursing home executive. He was convicted of cheating on taxes to finance his lavish lifestyle, including purchasing a $2 million yacht. The sequence of events is the story here, because Walsack's mother was invited to and attended that $1 million a plate dinner at Mar-a-Lago, the president's club, and then Trump signed the full pardon for Walsack. What signal does that send to other wealthy individuals who may be seeking a pardon from the president?
Well, one other thing that's so striking about the timeline here is Walsack was just sentenced to prison days before he received that pardon from President Trump. And the judge who sentenced him said at that proceeding that he wanted to send the message that wealth is not a get out of jail free card. And for that reason, he sentenced Walsack to 18.
And Donald Trump said, bitch, you a lie. Donald Trump is, and this is just another example of Donald Trump, the executive and the judiciary button heads. The judiciary says we are not going to tolerate white collar crime. It's just as bad as armed robbery. And Donald Trump said, fuck y'all. I'm letting these motherfuckers out, especially if they put money in my pocket, bitch. This is a gangster presidency. We're in a gangster presidency, but hey, that's what y'all voted for.
18 months in prison, in addition to having to pay back the money that he owed by defrauding essentially taxes, by not paying taxes. So this sends a message that accountability for the wealthy is not the same as accountability for those who don't have resources. And it creates essentially a two-tier system of justice for regular people and then for those who have political connections and wealth.
And yesterday, President Trump pardoned Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who was handing out deputy sheriff badges in exchange for money. He was paid more than $75,000 in bribes in what the DOJ called a, quote, cash for badges scheme. Jenkins was also a big supporter of President Trump and expressed some anti-immigrant sentiments. What's your takeaway from
this motherfucker, this big portly son of a bitch? Did you hear what he just said? He was giving out deputy badges for cash. I think that's what you just said. Let me replay that one more time to make sure I heard that correctly.
Cash for badges. 75 badges scheme. Jenkins was also a big supporter of President Trump and expressed some anti-immigrant sentiments. What's your takeaway from that pardon? And is this normally how pardons work?
This is not at all how pardons normally work. Pardons are normally reserved for people who show remorse for a crime they've been convicted of and who have actually served at least some and typically all of their sentence and have shown personal growth and rehabilitation during that time. However, this administration appears to be using pardons in a completely different and new way, which is to reward people who demonstrate political loyalty to the administration, and that is unprecedented.
The president used his pardon authority in his first administration. President Trump did when he pardoned his campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who had been convicted of bank and tax fraud. And that's not the only Trump ally that was pardoned when he was president the first time. Is there a pattern to Trump's pardons?
There is a pattern. This is something that began in the first Trump administration, but has gotten worse under the new administration for two reasons. One is that many of the pardons
Firstly, to this person in the chat, and that's my great brother BBO, Republicans don't give a fuck about you, nigga. They don't care about you. They just tricked you dumb sons of bitches into voting for them. That's it. And I don't disagree with you. The Dems don't care about us either, but at least from what I'm seeing, the Dems will not follow a king. The Dems will not anoint a king. Okay? The Dems, at least, they follow Supreme Court rulings. They don't snatch people up and send them the fuck out this country. And if I'm remembering correctly, I mean, if it weren't for the Dems, motherfuckers, black people that look just like you, BBO, wouldn't even be able to vote in the state of Ohio or in places like Georgia and Alabama. Respectfully, these people don't care about you. And unless you have the resources to actually put some money in Donald Trump's pocket, he's not gonna pardon you. What I like, if Trump was really serious about pardoning people that were wrongly persecuted, let's see him do a blanket pardon for marijuana, for petty marijuana offenses, for any non-violent offenses that involve marijuana. Let's see him do a pardon for that. But he won't. Okay. And most of those people are black people. Most of those people did not have money for good lawyers, and they're not going to have the money to influence or get in Donald Trump's pocket. So they're going to stay their black asses right in jail.
happening in secret. And the second thing that is really different is that Trump appears to be doing this just for wealthy, well-connected people. In the first administration, there were some truly deserving individuals who were more along the lines of ordinary Americans who did benefit from pardons, alongside the politically connected and those who had personal relationships with President Trump. But now the ordinary people seem to have been completely forgotten. There are applications piled up at the Office of the Pardon Attorney from individuals who are incarcerated around the country, some of whom have been waiting years for their applications to be considered, and those are being ignored in favor of the wealthy and well-connected.
President Trump isn't the only president to use this power. Former President Joe Biden used his pardon power, including to issue a full unconditional pardon of some of his family members, including his son, Hunter Biden, who was convicted on federal gun charges and pled guilty to tax evasion. Is Trump's use of the pardon power and former President Biden's use similar or different?
Well, Trump's use is very different.
So, and that's another thing. They keep using the excuse, well, Biden gave a blanket pardon. And I was also very critical of Biden for giving many people in his administration a blanket pardon and giving his family a blanket pardon. But now looking at how Trump is hunting down Harvard and he's persecuting these people, I don't blame him. I cannot blame him even a little bit. Like, this dude is a fucking tyrant, and he would probably be locking up, he'd probably try to lock up Jill Biden by now if they didn't have those pardons in place.
I will say, you know, it's impossible to talk about Trump's use of the pardon power without acknowledging that some of the pardons that President Biden granted were ones that frankly raised questions about the legitimacy of the pardon power and why this power exists. However, President Biden, for the most part, relied on the Department of Justice to make recommendations and granted clemency to people who did not have political connections, although there were some very notable and significant exceptions. In the current administration, there's no path forward that we know of right now for ordinary people to be considered for clemency. And the other thing that's really striking and shocking is that the president is granting clemency to individuals who owe tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in restitution and fines and other financial penalties, and it's never been done by any other president.
I also want to talk to you about Ed Martin, the new.
So that's another point. With the pardons, they do not have to pay restitution to the victims. So the people who they defrauded, they no longer have to pay back the money. Or well, I shouldn't say that. I know I don't know if they already paid back the money they stole, but when you have a restitution judgment entered, you have to pay back that money to the victim that you harmed. That is done. Okay? And he's not doing this to people that you usually, when I see a pardon, I like it to be for people that I look at the case and I can see reasonable doubt. This motherfucker, these people are guilty. They stole. They're a bunch of thieves. But hey, the president's a fucking 30-count felon, so I mean, I'm not surprised.
Pardon attorney who now holds the position he once held. He fully supported the pardons of January 6 rioters, including those who were convicted of violently assaulting police. And recently,
motherfuckers that beat police officers over the head with batons and tased police officers in the neck. Okay? That's who's getting pardoned.
When Ed Martin was praising Trump's decision to pardon convicted Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins, Martin posted on X, "No MAGA left behind." What message does that send, and what does it mean that Martin is now in this position?
It sends a message that the pardon power is now being totally and thoroughly politicized, that it will be used as a benefit to those who are supporters of the president and not for those who do not express political loyalty. That is really an unprecedented use of the pardon power. And just the fact of Martin's appointment to the position of pardon attorney is really striking, because that is a position that historically has always been filled by a non-political appointee. At the end of the day, the president has plenary power under the Constitution Constitution to grant clemency to whomever he chooses. But it is important to have someone in a non-political position providing that advice to the president about who should receive clemency and ensuring that individuals who do not have political connections can still have their applications considered.
Liz Oyer, former pardon attorney, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Larry Hoover. I'm going to give my thoughts on him. I think I already pretty much gave my thoughts on those white-collar, corrupt, fucking Ponzi scheme, robbing white people. I gave my full thoughts on them. Now let me get my thoughts on Larry Hoover.
President Trump, gang leader serving a life sentence.
However, that doesn't mean Hoover will be back on the streets anytime soon. WGN's Jenna Barnes joining us now with more on that. Jenna.
Mike and Ray, Hoover is now 75 years old. He was denied parole in this federal case just last year. Now with his commutation, he's expected to be moved from a supermax prison in Colorado back here to Illinois to serve prison time for a state sentence for murder. The notorious founder of the Gangster Disciples, Larry Hoover, was serving 6 life sentences in federal prison, convicted of running his criminal enterprise from inside an Illinois prison in the 1990s after his 1973 conviction for murder in the state.
There are crimes that are so heinous that they are not entitled to see, and his are among those.
Ron Safer was the lead prosecutor in Hoover's federal case.
There's no question that it is the biggest, most well-organized, most efficient drug organization that the country has ever known.
But advocates, including celebrities, have been fighting for Hoover's release. Kanye West and Drake holding a benefit concert for the cause.
Wow, you see, and I don't know much about Larry Hoover. But just hearing that, I mean, that really it really makes me take a step back. I would have to do some research on the Italian, and the white mob bosses and the other Mexican mob bosses, and see what type of time did they get and were they ever let out for running their criminal conspiracies. Before I really give an opinion and say that, well, why the hell are they letting this guy out? But yeah, I mean, wow. But no, salute to him. I mean, no, not salute to him, but that's amazing. I mean, he built something as heinous as it was. That man said he ran the most well-organized drug operation in the United States history. So, hey, but that's who y'all want your orange man to let out.
Pause in 2021. Hoover himself was in court just last year fighting for early release, renouncing his past. And Wednesday, President Donald Trump commuted his federal sentence. Hoover's attorneys writing, the courts have demonstrated a complete unwillingness to consider Mr. Hoover's considerable growth and complete rehabilitation.
We've got to learn how to respect one another and keep each other alive. Any voice that comes out with that message that may be able to help somebody, I'm for.
But Hoover's release from federal custody isn't freedom. He must return to Illinois to serve his 200-year sentence for murder, though legal experts say he is eligible for parole. The Department of Corrections website already lists him as an inmate in Dixon, but it's unclear if he's been moved yet.
When you locked up in them institutions and you have your conversation.
Yeah, and the priest, gave a very good point right there. It's not for me to judge, unless one of my family members was his victim or I knew him personally. I mean, it's not for me to judge or say that he shouldn't ever get a chance at freedom. I think everybody's entitled to a chance at forgiveness. And if this man has been in there for over 50 years, he's 70 years old, his health is failing. If he's been rehabilitated, I do think that it should be looked at. Now, well, I'm gonna get more to it when the video ends.
up in them institutions and you have your conversation with God, Father God, let me out. I'll never do it again.
Former gang enforcer Wallace Gator Bradley, who has received a pardon, is hoping the governor will intervene and commute the state sentence.
I pray that Governor J.B. will do it and hear, and I pray that God hear the prayers of everyone that's asking him to do it. And in my heart and soul, I feel he's going to do it.
No official statement from the governor's office on that idea tonight. If Hoover wants to pursue parole or clemency, he would need to petition the Prisoner Review Board. It makes parole decisions and the clemency recommendations to the governor. We're live on the North Side tonight. Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
Yeah, so Mr. Hoover, he still has one more battle before he can truly see freedom. He still is facing that 200-year state sentence for murder. So we're gonna see if that gets commuted or if he gets pardoned for that. But let me do say something. While I did say it's not for me to judge, at the same time, if this were somebody like Charles Manson, you know, somebody who ordered the horrific murders of multiple people, and he'd been in prison for over 50 years, and he's old, and he's saying he's following God and he's remorseful, would we be receptive to that? Would we be receptive and say things like, well, he's 50 years old, come on, let him out? Or, well, there were certain illegal things during Charles Manson's trial, he shouldn't be in there? Will we be saying things like that? But obviously, I don't know. My people, we have a fascination, or I shouldn't say a fascination, but there is a deep history of our people being wrongfully not only convicted but wrongfully persecuted. And so when we see one of us who was successful go down, we obviously want them to come out and to come up. But I don't know, man. Like my brother BVO, he always got at me about Vibes Cartel. But at the same time, I mean, Vibes Cartel murdered somebody. He murdered a young black man. And it's recorded that he admitted to murdering the person, but he got out as a result of a technicality because of juror misconduct. And the courts of England decided they didn't want to take back up the case. And as a result, he was freed on a technicality. But is that something that we should really celebrate? Because that I mean, that's a young black person that he murdered. You know, and he said things like in the recording, you'll never find his body. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody's child. That's somebody that, you know, that's somebody's son. How is that person's mother supposed to feel? But hey, it's not for me to forgive. It's God got to forgive you. And if the state has decided to clear your conviction, I mean, there's nothing I could do about it. But I just wish that you know, a couple of my brothers like CDK were up here to discuss this more and give his perspective. Because obviously I don't know too much about Larry Hoover, but overall, I don't think a lot of these pardons are correct. But we're gonna move on to the third topic of the stream. This is the topic that I really wanted to get into. Hold on one sec. This is an interview from the Ezra Klein show. Oh shoot! Damn, my bad. I don't know what happened. All right, I think I got it now. But we're gonna be watching an interview. Oh god damn it, it happened again. Okay, I understand. Okay, we're gonna be watching an interview from the Ezra Klein show. Ezra Klein, he is a correspondent for the New York Times. He is interviewing Zeke Faust, who is an investigative reporter for Bloomberg News and Bloomberg Financial. I wish my brother RGM was up here. I sent him the link. I don't think my phone. I don't think the text message got through to him. But this is going to be going into really just the astounding levels of corruption into World Liberty Financial. For those of you who don't know what World Liberty Financial is, it is a decentralized crypto platform where essentially on there you do not have to actually put your name. You're protected under a blockchain, and a blockchain is just it's basically an encrypted name or identity. It's just an assortment of letters and numbers. And on there, the only verification process. Firstly, World Liberty Financial. Let me say this: it's different than a regular crypto platform or a centralized crypto platform such as like Coinbase or Fox Crypto. Those platforms, they actually work in Congress with or excuse me, not work in Congress, but they work together with banks, and they also have to follow different laws and requirements. So they require ID verification. They're required to know which state that you're operating in crypto from. A decentralized crypto platform like World Liberty Financial does not require any of that type of verification. When you're trading, when you go on these types of sites, you can essentially interface with other people, other crypto brokers on these sites, and the only verification you would or might experience on there is if you're trying to trade crypto with another broker on the site. They might ask for some ID because they might want to make sure that they're not engaging with a criminal, or that they're taking money from a criminal for some type of crime. So on these sites, like World Liberty Financial, they're going to get more into it, but billions of dollars are pouring into the pockets of Donald Trump and his family. So much so that since January 20th, when Donald Trump entered the White House, to now, his net worth has increased by over $50 billion. And it's only growing. But let's get into the video.
Right now, we're tracking a pretty normal political story. There's this industry. It's got a bunch of money. It's willing to give a bunch of money to candidates if those candidates support its goals. The candidates want money in order to be able to run their political operations. It's a pretty normal story. But then in September 2024, now we're just 2 months out from the election, the Trump family announces something new, that they're going to be starting something, or they're heavily involved in something called World Liberty Financial. What at that point did they say World Liberty Financial was?
So the Trump sons first started tweeting about it, saying this was the future of finance. And Trump himself said, "We're embracing the future with crypto and leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind." And reading between the lines, it seemed like they were saying they were going to release some sort of platform for borrowing and lending crypto. There's a million of these. There's really not some unmet need in the market. And
yeah, you can find a bunch of these types of decentralized platforms that, like I said, don't require ID. You got a crypto, what's it called? Crypto marketplace. Then you got crypto exchange. And essentially, like I said, you can exchange crypto such as Ethereum, BTC, and I forget the other one, but you can exchange those, and then you can take it, and you get immediate liquidity. You can immediately sell it if you have a PayPal or whatever app you like to use, or Coinbase, like I said. You can immediately sell it and get liquidity. You can get money. With a meme coin, he's gonna get more into it, but there's no liquidity. You buy it and it's just stuck on the site, World Liberty Financial.
The crypto people, some of the same ones who had been really excited about Trump's embrace of the industry, were pretty mad. Not everyone, but a lot of people told me this looks like a cash grab. this isn't what crypto's about, some sort of copycat project. And I thought this was pretty funny because to me, it seemed like Trump was kind of catching on to how crypto really works. And because in crypto, buying other people's coins is kind of for suckers. By the time you hear about the coin, the insiders have already taken their positions at low prices. You're, what they call exit liquidity. They're going to sell it to you at a high price. That's how they make money.
Exit liquidity is such a great name for that.
They're trying to get their money and they're trying to get the hell off the coin because they understand that this thing is not worth nothing. Okay, they're just really trying to, and they're gonna get more into it. But this stuff is really scam. It's really a scam, and it's really used to But they're gonna get more into it. But this stuff is really a scam.
The real way to make money in crypto is to make up your own coins and sell them to other people for real money. So to me, I'm like, okay, it seems like Trump's catching on.
So tell me who's behind this, though. There's some involvement of the kids. There's, I guess, the son of Steve Witkoff, who later becomes the Middle East envoy. Tell me who is actually running World Liberty Financial, and how do the Trumps make money off of it?
It seemed like there were these two kind of longtime online hustlers who were the real movers behind the project. One of them, his name is Chase Hero. And
so they're gonna get. He's about to get into the two guys that started World Liberty Financial and are currently operating it. Which these are two of the most scummy pieces of shit you will ever see. Or I shouldn't say scummy, but they just look like scam artists. They look very shisty. I mean, these are not two people that you would trust your money with, but these are two people that Donald Trump will get in bed with.
One of them, his name is Chase Hero, and dig into his resume. It's a spotty one. He has bragged about dealing weed. He used to sell weight loss colon cleanses online. He had a $149 a month get rich quick program. I watched him on Logan Paul's podcast where he promoted a crypto coin that later went down 96%. And
he's describing a scam artist. That's what he's describing. He's describing a scam artist. This motherfucker, he sold weight loss colon cleanses. He was selling laxatives. That's all he was selling.
And he's pretty much an unknown in crypto. He'd only ever done one cryptocurrency project that I could find. It attracted a few $1 million and then suffered a big hack. So, I mean, at this point, like, this
perfect.
is
just excellent choice of business partner here.
Yeah, and then I spent
millions of people invested in his crypto coin, and then it suffered a big hack out of nowhere. Hey, amazing.
Long time watching all of his YouTube videos, of which there were many. And in one, he called himself the dirtbag of the internet and said that regulators should, quote, kick shitheads like me out. Then he said a quote about crypto that honestly I kind of agree with, but makes him kind of an odd business partner. He said he was in this video, he's streaming while he drives his Rolls Royce, and he says, you can literally sell shit in a can,
wrapped in piss, covered in human skin for $1 billion if the story's right. Because people will buy it. And that is what is going on in the crypto space. And like I said about the video, I'm not going to question the right and wrong of all that.
His business partner, who's also...
Okay, he's a scam artist just like our fucking president. Just like our fucking president. A couple of fucking scam artists. He said it right there. He can sell you shit, shit wrapped in a bag, piss wrapped in a bag made out of shit. And people will buy it. That's basically what this president is doing for a lot of these fucking MAGA supporters. He is shitting directly on your plate, and he's telling you it's beautiful tacos, and some of y'all are really eating it. Y'all know it's stinky. Y'all know it don't look right, but you still eat it. But anyway, this is the people Donald Trump is having to run his World Liberty Financial.
Helping run World Liberty, Zachary Folkman, he used to help.
And then this guy that I just showed you, he has an even more fucking I don't even know the word to describe this dude. He's just weird, but he's a fruitcake. They got another fruitcake running this fucking project for Trump.
Helping run World Liberty, Zachary Folkman, he used to run a service called Date Hotter Girls, where he taught seminars about how to pick up women.
Take her home, tell her about the awesome margaritas that you're going to make at your place. Tell her about the really sweet balcony you have at your place. Tell her about, some video that you saw on YouTube that you have to show her, and, get her home. But the fact of the matter is this is a very, very succinct way to go out and get consistent results. Now, the fact of the matter is this, flashy? No, not at all. But I mean, how many guys came here to learn how to be flashy? Okay. How many guys came here to learn how to take girls home and bang them?
I would never take advice from the fucking dude that look like this. Okay? This fucking dude dressed like a bum. He then a Tommy Bahama shirt and some fucking sweatpants. He got a G-Shock. I would never take no advice from this fucking dude. Okay? He don't know nothing about getting a woman.
So these are the Trumps.
But these are, he's about to say, these are the Trump's fucking business partners. A couple of fucking fruitcakes and scam artists.
Home and bang them.
So these are the Trump's crypto business partners. And I started looking into how this came to be. And it seems like what happened is that Chase Hero and Zach Folkman met Steve Witkoff's sons. Steve Witkoff is a real estate developer who golfs with Trump, longtime Trump friend. And Steve Witkoff had introduced them to the Trump sons and Trump Sr. And they'd pitched him on this World Liberty plan. And Trump is listed on World Liberty's website as chief crypto advocate. And Eric, Don Jr., and Barron are Web3 ambassadors. World Liberty, this is also par for the course in crypto. World Liberty, they're not really quite saying exactly what it is, but they're going to sell some coins. And the coins, the World Liberty coins.
So to be very clear, he just said it right there. Don Jr., Donald Trump's son-in-law, I can't remember his name, he said it right there, and Donald Trump himself are listed as benefactors and ambassadors on World Liberty Financial's page. And he's going to get more, and he's going to break down how exactly they're paid right here, and how it's such a fucking scam. But not only is it a fucking scam, it's used to launder money and to do bribes in secret. And he's going to expose it right here.
But they're going to sell some coins. And the coin, like World Liberty, this is also par for the course in crypto. World Liberty, they're not really quite saying exactly what it is, but they're going to sell some coins. And the coins, the World Liberty coins were, even by crypto standard, the World Liberty coins were, even by crypto standards, a really unappealing investment. So if you buy World Liberty crypto coins, you do not receive a share of any money World Liberty makes. You cannot resell them unless the rules change in the future.
So you heard it right there. Once you buy these World Liberty coins, you cannot resell them, and you do not have a stake in World Liberty Financial. So it just stays a regular coin. Okay?
You can't resell them. You make money off of them.
Okay, and in crypto, if you were to buy, say, $1,000 worth of Ethereum, you could sell 1,000. You could take that same Ethereum and sell it for $1,000. You have immediate liquidity, unless it drops below that $1,000 in market price, which it probably will. You can sell that Ethereum immediately. You can get liquidity immediately. You cannot do that with this World Liberty coin. And he's going to get more, and he's going to get more into how this is going to be used to fucking launder bribes and do it in the dark of night.
Presumably, the Liberty makes. Do not receive a share of any money World Liberty makes. You cannot resell them unless the rules change in the future.
You can't resell them?
No, they can't be resold.
How do you make money off of them?
Presumably, they're going to change those rules. But you're trusting that they do.
But so I buy a World Liberty coin. It costs me just notionally, whatever, $30, $300. There's no liquidity in that?
Literally impossible to resell. Maybe you could do it over the counter to your friend with like a handshake deal, but you can't.
So I'm actually shocked.
Yes. And the first $30 million of the proceeds, after this initial $30 million, 75% of all the money World Liberty makes, both from operations of whatever they will do in the future and from the token sale, 75% is going to be paid to the Trumps as a fee.
Okay, but initially it doesn't make that much money.
Yeah, so Trump's not president yet, and this offering is kind of...
And right here, he's speaking. And he's speaking from the perspective of January 20th, or rather 2 months before the presidency, when World Liberty was launched. It was launched 2 months before the presidency. That's why he says before Trump was president, without liquidity, you lose bread on that credit. Exactly, B3. So with Ethereum or BTC, you could sell it immediately. You cannot do that with this coin.
Kind of rejected by the crypto industry. At first, they'd only sold a couple million of the coins. I mean, still not bad. You tweet a couple of times, you sell a couple million of coins that you resold.
But it hadn't hit that payout level.
Oh, true.
Then comes Justin Sun. Who is Justin Sun?
So Justin Sun is
he's about to get into the meat and potatoes of how this is going to be used for corruption. And I want, before you listen to what he's going to say, I want you to keep in mind all the bitching and crying and moaning that the Republicans were doing about Hunter Biden and him selling paintings and this lie that his father used his influence to make his life easier in Ukraine.
You sell a couple million of coins that can't be resold.
But it hadn't hit that payout level.
Oh, true.
Then comes Justin Sun. Who is Justin Sun?
So Justin Sun is a controversial crypto billionaire. He was born in China. He started a blockchain called Tron, and he's best known for his love of publicity stunts. He bought lunch with Warren Buffett to try to pitch him about crypto. He bought a seat on Jeff Bezos's one of his spaceships, which I don't think he ever used. And most recently, he bought a piece of conceptual art, a banana taped to a wall, for $6 million. So Justin Sun is
He sounded like a dumb son of a bitch if you ask me, but hey, that's his money.
facing a lawsuit filed by the SEC under Gary Gensler. And he comes in right after the election and buys $30 million of these unresellable World Liberty tokens.
So this foreign billionaire who is under investigation from the SEC for white collar crimes while Trump is getting inaugurated, or excuse me, yeah, I think he said this happened inauguration day. He buys $30 million worth of these unsellable World Liberty financial coins. Just buys $30 million of them out the blue.
Which pushes them over the line so that the Trumps would, in fact, receive a payout. And Sun says at the time to my colleague that he just liked the project. He was not expecting anything from it, but he's immediately named an advisor to World Liberty, one of maybe 10 people in the industry who are. So now he's in business with the Trumps too.
And he says publicly that he's triggered this payout to them. Is that accurate?
He makes a lot of noise about the purchase, and the rules of the game are clear to everyone. And in case the Trumps did not know about this, just a few weeks later, he goes to a crypto conference in Abu Dhabi. This is also hosted by Bitcoin Magazine's David Bailey. And
it's a small world.
Yes. At that conference, he is photographed with Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff, the envoy, who also plays a big role at World Liberty. He's now said he divested, but Justin Sun gets in front of him there. We don't know what.
Steve Witkoff, I think he's an ambassador to. Give me 1 second. Where is Steve Witkoff an ambassador to? Oh God. Wherever the hell he's an ambassador to, but either which way, Steve Witkoff is a business friend, a business partner, or excuse me, here it is. Steve Witkoff is a special envoy to the Middle East. So I think he was an ambassador in the past, but he is a business partner to Donald Trump. And right here, they just showed the picture of him and this Justin Sun character, the Chinese billionaire who's under investigation from the SEC. They get together a few weeks before the inauguration. Then Justin Sun buys $30 million worth of World Liberty Financial's unsellable coins. Okay? And Donald Trump and his family, they get an 80% payout of that coin, of that $30 million. So let's keep going.
What was said, but after that, maybe a few weeks later, Justin Sun buys another $45 million of World Liberty's token.
Which at this point is now just doing a 75% payout to the Trumps, correct?
Yeah. So of Justin Sun, his purchase of World Liberty coins meant that the Trumps were going to get something like $56 million in a payout based on just what he bought. We should say.
So Donald Trump and his family get fit, or excuse me, I think I might have cooked the books on that one. I think if you total the amount that Justin Sun bought of these unsellable, unusable coins, he bought around $70 million worth of World Liberty Financial coin. And Donald Trump's family, they get 75% of that $70 million, which he totaled it, which came to $56 million, which will go into Donald Trump's pocket. And this man is currently under investigation from the SEC. He's going to mention it later, but Donald Trump eventually gets the SEC investigation put off.
Justin Sun, after a few weeks after he finished buying his $75 million of World Liberty tokens, his SEC case was put on hold. And no explanation was given. The SEC did put a lot of other crypto cases on hold, but this is like a very favorable outcome for him and one that is really valuable.
Okay, so let's back up for a minute. You've got a crypto figure, but let's not call it a crypto figure. You've got someone in the finance industry. They are under SEC investigation for fraud. And what they have done is they have found a way to put $56 million publicly and legally in the pocket of the family that is about to or just has won the election and will direct the SEC afterwards. I think somebody listening to this might say, isn't that usually illegal?
I would call that blatant fucking corruption. I remember they had a black alderman from the Maryland area. They made it big news that he took a fucking envelope full of money. It was a big sting operation by the news. So what's the difference?
Wouldn't that be understood under normal law as a bribe? Could Justin, I guess the question I'm asking you is, could Justin's son have just walked up to Eric Trump with a check? Could he have just gone to him and said, hey, I think you guys are great. I'm into the whole Trump project. I like the branding. I like the aesthetic. I like the vibes. I'm not saying I want anything from you. Here's $56 million of walking around money. Would that be legal?
You know, maybe it would be. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think that the emoluments clause only applies to payments from foreign governments.
And just quickly right there, the emoluments clause, which is something else that's been discussed a lot in recent weeks, because Donald Trump accepted a $400 million jet from the nation of Qatar as a gift. That's illegal. The emoluments clause states that no person holding an office of profit or trust, that the president being one of those offices, can accept any gift, emolument, or salary from any foreign state, king, or country or whatever. And Donald Trump accepted a $400 million, you can't accept any of those things without the permission of Congress. Donald Trump accepted a $400 million jet. Okay? This is the most corrupt fucking president I have seen in my lifetime. And people just want to gloss over it because this motherfucker, he spent over $40 million on golf in just 5 months of being president. And that's taxpayer dollars that I'm talking about he's spending. This is the most corrupt fucking president I've seen in my lifetime. Let's continue on. He mentions the emoluments clause because this man asked a very good question. If Justin Sung can just donate $56 million to Donald Trump's son, if he can just donate, or excuse me, if he could just buy $56 million worth of product from Donald Trump's son and then get his SEC investigation put off, what would be the difference between just walking up and handing him a check and then getting his SEC investigation put off? And but Bulbasack in the chat, listen, I don't disagree with you. I think Republicans are terrible. If you look at the statistics, the last 16 recessions that we've experienced, 15 of them have been under Republican presidents. Okay? And then you talk about Bush, I don't disagree at all. Dick Cheney was running the country. The oil companies, the weapons makers, they wanted the war in Iraq. They wanted the war in Afghanistan. It was all a money-making scheme. I don't disagree with none of that. But let's call it out. What Donald Trump is doing and his fucking family is doing is wrong. He's 50 billion times more fucking corrupt than any president I've ever seen. And that's actually a quantifiable number. This man, his net worth has grown by over $50 billion in just the first 5 months. And that's directly because he's the president of the United States. He is using the office of the presidency to enrich himself. And now with this World Liberty financial coin, and Mr. Faust, he's gonna get more into the anonymity of the people using the coin and the app, or excuse me, the anonymity of the people buying the coin, because Justin Sung, he made the decision to make it public because he likes publicity stunts. There are people that are buying this coin. We have no idea who the hell they are. and how the hell they might be profiting from it. Because clearly there's no liquidity to this product. So what it really is a lump sum payment towards Donald Trump and his family.
You know, maybe it would. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I think that the emoluments clause only applies to payments from foreign governments. I think, but I'm not an expert on this. To me, it seems like this is just not a situation that was ever contemplated by the people who made laws about what presidents could and couldn't do.
What's funny is you couldn't do it for the campaign. You mentioned earlier that the max you could donate to the campaign directly into some associated official party organs is fairly limited. If you wanted to say put $56 million into Trump's official campaign account, you couldn't. But you can put it into his crypto coin, which triggers direct payments into his family's bank accounts.
Yes. And I mean, remember first time around, there was a lot of controversy over people spending money at the Trump Hotel in DC. I mean, that looks quaint. That was a couple $100,000. You know, that.
Okay? And he's going into some of the scandals from the past of Trump's presidency. That was nothing. Okay? That's a couple $100,000. This is $56 million.
How people are sending millions to buy, Trump's coins.
Tens of millions. The thing about the crypto play here is it's so much more scalable. The number go up. It's functionally infinite.
And they ended up selling out. They sold all the tokens that they had offered, total of $550 million worth. So that meant $400 million to the Trumps based on the terms of the offering as I read them.
Eric Trump has said, quote, "It's one of the more successful things we've ever done." Do we know who bought this $550 million of World Liberty coins?
So the way crypto works, you can hold your cryptocurrency in an anonymous wallet. You're only identified by a string of random letters and numbers. So we can go.
And that's one of the benefits of using a decentralized blockchain platform like World Liberty Financial. You have anonymity unless you're somebody like Justin Sung who wants to announce it. But as of this time, we have no idea who has put $400 million into the pocket of Donald Trump's family. Okay? Do you remember how he humiliated the hell out of Zelensky in the Oval Office? And he was making those nonsensical claims that Ukraine started the war. Okay, I'm allowed to question: did a Russian asset put $350 million into that? Did they buy $350 million worth of that coin? Because what is that about? Why did Elon Musk buy some of that coin? Is that why he's in the Oval Office blatantly lying about South Afrikaner genocide in South Africa, which I'm going to do a video on another day? Okay? When we don't have transparency, I'm allowed to scrutinize and criticize. $400 million of people just buying worthless fucking coins that you can't resell and get liquidity for.
On the blockchain, we can see which anonymous wallets have sent money to buy World Liberty tokens, but we don't know who those people are unless there's other clues or if the people announce it publicly.
So Justin's son was a little bit unusual here in that he went and made his purchase very public. But in theory, there could be somebody else, some financier in Saudi Arabia, some Latin American influence peddler who buys 50 million or 20 million or whatever it is, does not say anything publicly, but sends a signal message to somebody who knows the Trumps saying, "Hey, can you let them know I did this?" that I'm on their side. I believe in what they're doing. I want to help out.
For sure. And I mean, you're giving me an idea. You could save 20 million bucks. Just tell them you did it. You're like, this is my wallet.
Fair enough. All right. So let's go to a different moment here. Trump.
And if you want to go listen to it's a very informative interview. You could go listen to it on your own time, on the Ezra Klein show. But I just think that that's astounding. I think that it is blatant corruption. I think anybody who bitched and complained about quote unquote Biden crime family corruption, if you are not appalled or outraged by what you just heard, you are fucking disingenuous and you're just lying to yourself. This fucking guy, there's a way for potentially foreign assets to put billions of dollars into the pockets of Donald Trump. And we do not know who these people are. He held a dinner for the top 20 investors of World Liberty Financial Coin. Okay? And he said the top 20 people that keep buying up this coin will get to come to the White House. So let's be very clear. He directly leveraged the position of the White House and the presidency to get people to buy up his coin. Hey, if people don't see the issues or the problem in this, if you don't see how this can backfire on us very quickly, then I don't got nothing more else to say to y'all, man. I'm just out here trying to put the information out. I'm up here trying to combat fascism in this country. I'm up here trying to defend the Constitution and defend our people, our voice. We got motherfuckers getting snatched up and sent to gulags in El Salvador. Somebody got to stand against it. And I'm going to do it over here at Democracy 101. But unfortunately, my brother DubRightSide, he had to spend some time with the family. I can't fault him for that. Salute to him. This was supposed to be the first episode of Political Discourse. Instead, it'll just be the first stream for Democracy 101. I'm going to be back next Friday with my brother DubRightSide. I keep mentioning this video about the South Afrikaners that I'm going to post. I'm going to try to post it this week coming up. They take a lot of time. I gotta invest a lot of time and a lot of research into it, but I have a lot of fun. So please look out for it. Please subscribe to Democracy 101. Smash the like button. I appreciate everybody that came through and rocked with me for the little time that I was up here. I'm gonna be heading over to my brother BVO Boxing. We're gonna be watching the Caleb Plant boxing card. Salute to everybody in the Sports Talk Network. Salute to STN. All my brothers' channels and links to them are going to be listed in the description to this video. And listen, man, resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. Fight back. Don't accept the orange dictator and his fascist ways. Salute. Peace.